Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So, Xbox fans might have just got some great news for the Microsoft Activision Blizzard buyout, as it looks like that acquisition might actually have a chance of finishing up sooner than what some of us originally expected. Now, I'm not saying that this is a guarantee or anything, but we'll kind of go over all of that here in a little bit. Then also, we did get an official announcement of a June PlayStation event after all, though the question is whether or not that this is the big showcase that what many of us were kind of hoping for. And based off of what they're alluding to here, it might not be, so we're going to go over that one in a little bit as well. Beyond all that though, of course, if you do find yourself enjoying the video, go and hit that like button below. It does help out the channel a ton. And while you're at it, go and hit that bell notification and subscribe button as well. That way you can keep up to date with all of the latest gaming news, as I am here every single week, Monday through Friday, and I do show up, unlike Luka Doncic, on defense. So just go and smash those buttons below, but other than that, let's just go and jump right into the news, starting off with a couple of PlayStation ratings that made their way online, which might signify an incoming announcement and release. Now, the first one here that we're going to kind of go over here real quick is actually a game some of you all might remember being Resistance Retribution. Yeah, this is actually a spin-off Resistance PSP game, and now here, it's being rated for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 in South Korea. Now, considering Sony is gearing up to launch their new PlayStation Plus premium tier that includes various PlayStation Classic games, including PSP titles, the easy assumption to make here is that, yes, Resistance Retribution will be included among their classic catalog. Now, whether or not it's one of the games to launch side by side with PlayStation Plus Premium, that kind of remains to be seen, but I don't think that this rating is just some kind of coincidence. It's a good PlayStation Portable game from a popular first-party PlayStation franchise, and really, I think it's kind of a no-brainer to be one of the included titles for PlayStation Plus Premium. I think for me personally, the question I have really comes down to two different things. One is whether or not it'll include trophies, because if it does, this is going to be actually a pretty enticing title here. And then my other question comes down to just the entire PSP library on modern consoles. I am very curious on how these games actually look, because they were originally designed for a portable console. And yeah, I am curious on how they're going to look on a big screen TV. That's what I'm most curious about, but really we're not going to have to wait too much longer to check these games out ourselves, and I do like the idea of Resistance Retribution being included. Now really we just need Killzone Liberation, if anybody remembers that one. As for this other PlayStation rating though, and this one here is the really exciting one, which would be God of War Ragnarok. Once again, God of War Ragnarok has received a rating over in South Korea. Of course, it received a rating of 18+ or otherwise mature depending on your own region. That's hardly surprising for a God of War game, but the big news here is that this could signify a soonish announcement and release date. This is something that we have seen time and time again over the last so many years. Oftentimes when a game receives a rating, and an announcement does follow shortly after. Sometimes this will happen in mere weeks, while others it takes a few months for that official announcement. The Demon's Souls remake and the Castlevania Advanced Collection both comes to mind, which I believe received official announcements months after receiving a rating, if I'm remembering correctly. So don't take this as God of War Ragnarok is guaranteed to get a release date next month in June, which we'll kind of talk about a little bit more here in just a bit, but I think that this is just another indication that, yes, Ragnarok will release in 2022. That really has been the looming question on whether or not it will release this year, and I think by this point, all the evidence is kind of pointing to a 2022 release date. In fact, something else that has caught a lot of attention online is that it now appears that God of War merchandise will be releasing this September. So again, that could be yet another indication of a 2022 release date, and maybe with the merchandise being planned for September, maybe God of War Ragnarok will release right around that time frame as well. Let me know what you all think about all of this though. Give me your prediction in the comments below on when you think God of War Ragnarok will release. Moving on though, Nintendo revealed some more Nintendo Switch Online games. They've actually been a little quiet here recently. I'm hoping that's kind of a sign of them maybe saving some big announcements for a June Nintendo Direct. But nonetheless, they did reveal 3 more games here for standard Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, and this includes Well, it includes some games. I'm not going to promise you that you're necessarily going to be thrilled with these games or really even know what these games are in the first place, but here you have it. The Super Nintendo lineup grows with the inclusion of Congo's Caper and then Rival Turf. Now, Rival Turf does look like it's a game cut from the same cloth as something like, let's say, Streets of Rage. Maybe if you like beat 'em ups, Rival Turf might be worth a try, especially if it has some sort of multiplayer capability. And then as for the NES game, you have Pinball. Now this one's kind of self-explanatory. It's pinball with some Nintendo-esque minigames thrown in. So this is kind of an underwhelming lineup, I would say. Not to say that these games are bad or anything, and on the contrary, they might actually be pretty decent. But once again, this lineup, it's just kind of missing that wow factor. It just kind of needs more of an impact. There's still some major games out there that fans really want, such as Super Mario RPG, as an example. And these just aren't quite it. Now, at least they did recently add Earthbound, and that was great and all, but still, I think that this lineup kind of leaves a lot to be desired. But let me know what you think about all of this. Are you excited to play any of these games yourself or not? Let's go and talk about Xbox, though, and that Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition once again. You know, there's really been a lot of discussion and speculation as to what exactly will happen with this buyout and when it will eventually complete, if it gets through regulations, of course. And really, I'd say that most people, they don't really have a clue on what's going to happen next, and really that's perfectly fine. Most of us aren't exactly legal experts. We're gamers witnessing one of the biggest acquisitions ever made, and obviously, it's going to have a huge impact on not just Xbox, but really the entire game industry. So with that, I don't really expect most people to be all that knowledgeable on all the innards of this deal and what's going to happen, and that's why I said in a previous video, the one source that I have really paid attention throughout this entire process is Hogue Law. Virtual Legality. He does have his own YouTube channel and he is a lawyer, so he knows more than most of us on how this stuff actually works. Well, about that. We now have yet another lawyer chiming in here, this time a European lawyer over on Recetera, which made a very lengthy post on the process of this buyout and when it could possibly complete. Now, I'm not going to read the entire quote here because, like I said, it is actually pretty long, but we will take a look at the last two paragraphs posted. And as you can see here, it says, the usual 4 to 5 months of the second phase should be done by November or December. Seeing how proactive Microsoft is, already making concessions about important issues, unless there is an express opposition to the deal and they have to go to court, it's perfectly possible that the deal is done by the end of November, beginning of December. In summary, this is a legal process. There are deadlines that regulatory institutions have to comply with, and some parts of the process can be accelerated by the parties if they have the resources. The user that posted this then went on to clarify that all this is just day-to-day work for them as they're a European lawyer. So as long as this part here is true and that they are actually a lawyer as they claim, then I would say that this makes this person a little bit more qualified to talk about this type of stuff than maybe some other people out there. So I think that this is certainly very good news regarding this acquisition because it does mean that this deal could, and I really want to emphasize that part there, but it could mean that this buyout could be complete by the end of 2022, which would be absolutely massive for Xbox. I'm sure as soon as this deal is complete, suddenly Xbox Game Pass is going to get a ton of games with Crash Bandicoot, you have Spyro, Overwatch, Diablo, Call of Duty, and really the list just kind of goes on and on. In fact, the biggest holiday release this year, being Modern Warfare 2, could potentially release into Xbox Game Pass this holiday if this deal is done by that point. Now, admittedly, there are some questions regarding Call of Duty, as PlayStation is rumored to have a marketing deal for Call of Duty through 2025, but that doesn't really tell us one way or the other on if that would impact a Game Pass release. As far as we know currently, that just means that Call of Duty DLC and betas, they appear on PlayStation first. Beyond that, we don't really know much of anything. But back to whether or not this deal will actually complete this year. Now, this is just my own personal take on this, so just kind of take this as you will. But the way that I look at this is that don't expect anything. And what I mean by that is that this news here, it basically tells you that the deal completing in 2022 is possible. It doesn't really tell you any more than just that. There's no guarantee here. This does not necessarily mean that it will complete this year, just that it's possible that it will. So per usual, we'll just have to kind of see what happens here, but this certainly makes this buyout even more interesting because based off the timeline, if Microsoft does end up pulling this off, suddenly their holiday will look a lot better, especially after them announcing some pretty big delays as of recent. This would definitely put them in a better light with Xbox Game Pass. I mean, it's already the best in gaming, but with Activision Blizzard on top of that, yeah, it would just kind of be wow by that point. But again, I want to hear your all's predictions here. If Microsoft does complete this deal, when do you think it will happen? Let me know in the comments below. Now, we do also have some more PlayStation news today as the June showcases are growing even more. Yeah, that's right. Sony has officially announced a PlayStation State of Play for June 2nd, though this is really just where the questions begin. So this is what they've confirmed themselves. Again, it will be on June 2nd, and it will be a 30-minute long showcase that focuses on third-party partnerships and PlayStation VR 2 titles. There's actually no mention of first-party games here in this statement. And this is something that Sony has been doing here recently. They have been setting very specific expectations with their events. That way, fans don't kind of go in disappointed. And with them not mentioning first-party games here at all, this could mean that this is a smaller showcase rather than a big event that many of us were kind of hoping for. There really has been two rumors that's kind of been floating around regarding a PlayStation event, and that has been that they will have a showcase in the first week of June, and we're actually seeing that here. And then for the other rumor that we have consistently heard was that a big PlayStation showcase won't take place until September. With this announcement here, though, it almost sounds like both of those rumors were actually true after all, with the June event being a little bit smaller, and then a September one for that big blowout showcase. Now, with that said, whether or not this June event will be a little smaller or not, there's still a lot of exciting games that could be announced here, which we'll get into here in just a moment. With that said, because they're not exactly mentioning first-party games, fans might want to go in with the expectations that God of War Ragnarok will not be at this event. If it does, well, then that's great, and it's just absolutely a thrilling surprise. I mean, if they were to end the event by just saying, God of War Ragnarok will release this September, the internet, yeah, it might just break. But I think with how they're kind of wording this, just so nobody is disappointed next month, go in not expecting God of War Ragnarok. Again, though, there's still some really exciting games that could potentially show up here. PlayStation has various big third-party games that they could showcase here, such as Final Fantasy XVI. We've been hearing a lot about this game here recently, and Square Enix has alluded to a trailer being ready to go. So here's a fantastic opportunity to just kind of show this game off, as PlayStation does have the marketing rights for Final Fantasy. Another game here, though, that could possibly show up would be Street Fighter 6. Capcom did partner up with PlayStation last generation to have Street Fighter 5 as a PlayStation 4 console exclusive, and even though we don't know the exact platforms for Street Fighter 6 just yet, we do know for a fact that they are looking to give an update for Street Fighter 6 this summer. So this could be a great place to do just that, as Street Fighter, regardless on whether or not it's an exclusive, it does have a big fan base on PlayStation. And that leads me to Resident Evil 4 Remake as well. This is yet another game that we've heard a lot about, and Resident Evil also, again, does have a big fan base on PlayStation. So when I start to think about an event like this, and them just kind of primarily focusing on third-party games, and then PlayStation VR 2 titles, those are the three big third-party games that I'd watch out for. I'm not saying that they'll be here or anything like that, but maybe there's a slim chance of at least one of these games showing up. If I were to bet, I'd kind of look towards Final Fantasy XVI. But as for PlayStation VR 2, that will also be a big focus here as well, and it'll just be nice to start to finally get actual gameplay footage of these PlayStation VR 2 games to see what kind of jump we're actually looking at here. I'm sure there'll be plenty of surprise games here for PlayStation VR 2, and then also maybe a full gameplay reveal of Horizon Call of the Mountain. They did previously announce that one, and as a supporter of virtual reality, I am really curious to see that game specifically. But yeah, there you have it. Go ahead and mark your calendars for June 2nd. And also, go ahead and let me know what game that you're hoping will be at this specific event. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, and with this Xbox Cloud game streaming device being confirmed over on Windows Central, I wanted to go and ask you all, would you be interested in a budget-friendly Xbox Cloud game streaming device that you can connect to your TV or monitor? And I was a little surprised by the results here, but most of you all, being 49%, did say that yes, you would be interested in a device like this, while 43% of you said no. Now again, this was actually a little surprising to me because I feel like a device like this is probably a little bit more geared towards the casual market that's not looking to spend $300 to $500 on a console. But I have seen some people kind of say that they would like this as maybe a secondary device. They can take it on vacation with them or just put it in a completely separate room as their main Xbox Series device. That way they can just play wherever they want. And okay, I can understand that, especially if this is a very affordable option. We don't really know the cost that they're looking for, but my guess would probably be right around $100. We'll see how all of that turns out, but I think for me myself, I'm not really looking for a device like this personally because I don't really have a need for it. For me, if I'm going to do cloud gaming when it comes to Xbox, I would much rather to have a dedicated portable console. That to me sounds much more interesting, but either way, I do understand the potential of a cloud gaming device like this. It does have a lot of potential of really growing Xbox as a brand, as it would just be a very affordable option where, I mean, people can just pick up an Xbox, again, without needing to purchase a $300 to $500 console. So definitely a lot of potential there. But at the same time, I still feel like cloud gaming, it has a lot of room to grow. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.